There's a lot of leaders that are hurting right now, and I really have a conscience around that. So, given the fear pandemic that I was talking about before, obviously recommendation number one is that you got to deal with the fear. I train people to be a 10 every day. If you're resonating at a 10, you'll attract 10 experiences. If you're resonating at a 2, you'll attract 2 experiences. So number one, you've got to deal with the fear within your executive team as well, because that will dilute, what it is that you're able to create. So one process is called the RESA process: reaction, recognition, evaluation, sensation, reaction. And if you take the context of fear is the access point. Then to observe the fear's present. Ask the question, which is the recognition piece. What's actually really going on? Then evaluation. I'm disconnected from source and I'm feeding a projection. 100% of the time that you are feeding some disempowered state, you are either in the past or you're in the future, you're just not present. And then to be able to distinguish that. And if you are disempowered, you're operating from the child, not the adult. And then the speed with which you shift is the mastery piece. Realizing that if I was to be connected, I often say to leaders, have you ever tried to vacuum when you haven't plugged it in and turned it on? It's a bit tricky, And that's how most people do leadership, right? They're in the doing the state of leadership versus being leadership. And so the RESA process is a very fast process to be able to realize what's actually really going on and taking the focus off the dynamic. So the key to self-mastery is not about not getting triggered, it's the length of time you spend in the trigger: a minute, an hour, a day, a week, a month. All of human suffering is a function of what we make things mean. If you're not wanting to suffer, stop making stuff mean stuff. So fear needs to be addressed. The second one is support. Novel concept. Support is not a weakness, it's your biggest strength. There is enough support out there, obviously because of what is transpiring. Leaders need to humble themselves enough to put themselves in an environment where they actually relish the support both for themselves and their people. Number 3 is toleration. What would your life look like if you tolerated nothing that wasn't working? People, it's all very well to have goals and have visions, but there's an undercurrent that's taking you in the other direction, which is everything that you tolerate. There's personal tolerations, financial tolerations, relationship tolerations, organizational tolerations that are undistinguished. So one of the big areas that I work with people is to be able to understand the undercurrent that's taking you, because, can you imagine if a toleration is a persistent complaint, something that you complain about all the time. Anything from I get into my car and my car isn't valeted to the, going into the office. But there's a zillion things on a day-to-day basis that we tolerate. If you live your life and those tolerations aren't there, life becomes a lot more peaceful. I live by a mantra every day of think, do, say, be, forward the game. Is what I'm thinking forward in the game? If it's not, don't think it. Is what I'm doing forward in the game? If it's not, don't do it. Is what I'm saying forward in the game? If it's not, don't say it. And who I'm being on a day-to-day basis, is that forward in the game? If it's not, don't be that. That trains me at a high degree of integrity to ensure that my game is being forwarded, but a lot of people don't even know what their game is. Personal boundaries. The number one success strategy for every single successful person on the planet is mandatory application of personal boundaries in the morning. I've been meditating for over 30 years. Anything to get out of the monkey mind. Gratitude journal, food, fitness. If you don't put petrol in the car, it isn't going to go anywhere. These are really basic, rudimentary, but the degree to which leaders give lip service to this because they're in there so much, in their busyness addiction. And I believe the biggest addiction on the planet is dissatisfaction, and people tolerate that, and there's no need for it. The other recommendation is obviously the mental health aspect. Organizations actually doing a mental health audit. There are many statistics out at the moment where staff will not talk about their mental health, let alone anybody at the leadership level.
Right.
And there needs to be cut through with that. The existing EAP programs are not going to cut it. It needs to be customized to the outcome of those audits that are being conducted because of the increase in the whole mental health side of things. Nature happens in cycles, and I've often had people say to me, why aren't you impacted by what's happening in the world? And obviously from an equanimous standpoint, I can be the observer of what's doing, but not be hooked into it. That everything happens in cycles. Nature happens in cycles. Yes, currently we might be in a storm right now, but it doesn't last forever.